final session of the day, how to get started, how to put into practice what we learned during this seminar. Over to you, Eva and Siba.
Thank you very much. If you can jump to the next slide, please. We know from experience with our seminars that usually people have the impression that they heard a lot, that they hopefully also learned a lot, but that they are often not so sure what they should do with what they learned. And where to start, because it seems a little bit overwhelming sometimes. You heard a lot, you know the problems in your cities, in your regions. So I think it would be a good idea to brainstorm together on some actions that you might implement within your organization short-handedly in a very short to medium time frame. We have presented some ideas for you over the next 2 slides, and maybe it would be good if we could just look through these very quickly, and then we would give you some time and do a small slider together with you with your top 3 actions that you would be willing to implement, not tomorrow, but maybe starting next week. And at the end of the session, we would share these ideas. We have some starting actions summarized here for you, like sharing information from the webinar with your colleagues, forming a technical group within your organization or with other experts from external organizations. And we will just put these slides and the next slide forth and back, and you start thinking about what kinds of slides you could implement. Maybe Stephanie, you could show the next slide, and we will just jump between these 2 slides forth and back. And Siba will tell you right now what we have in mind with those 2 slides. Yeah, just show the next slide, Stephanie. Siba, just explain what we have come up with for sharing ideas and actions.
Thank you, Eva. Steph, if you can go back to the previous slides. First one. Right, so yeah, very quickly, some of these ideas, making sure you're sharing the information about this webinar, thinking of the main stakeholders that you need to start meeting with. These could be, you know, those that are within your departments or other departments that you know impact this type of work, starting a technical group of working with these stakeholders, reviewing your current speed limits and see what should be changed and what could be changed, getting your information ready to share with the public and decision makers, especially sharing something like the myth that we had shared in the first session. Those usually do a great job in changing the minds of some decision makers and the public. Setting a clear target in your action plan for speed. For example, we want to lower the speed limit by this much at this time, or lowering fatalities caused by speed crashes at this percentage by this time. Next, make sure you are collecting the right data. Usually, ideally, you want 3 years before and 3 years after an intervention, but just start now with what you have. Make sure you have the operating speeds to monitor how they're changing after any intervention or speed limit change. And then you can support that also with crash data to make the case that there is a relationship between lowering speeds and crashes. Do a survey to know if your local residents are supporting certain interventions or speed changes, and share that with your decision makers. Sometimes the general perception is the public is against certain speed changes, while in fact doesn't have to be true. So do a survey to learn more about that. Identify the high-risk locations where you can start with the speed interventions, those that can have highest impact, but more support from the community. And usually these could be areas that have schools or nursing homes, shopping centers, where there's more children and vulnerable road users that are present. It's less likely for the community to be against any speed change, but in fact, they want to lower the speeds there. Start with a planning trial project, like a temporary intervention, for example, with a new type of infrastructure to try it out, like a raised crossing or a gateway treatment. These could be very simple and small in a targeted location, just to test it out, to see what impact it's making, and then you can share that impact with the community and decision makers. Also have a clear strategy for if you're installing signage for a speed limit change, have a clear strategy of sharing this information and making sure the public is aware, so they're not having a sudden speed signage pop up on their speed, but that it's clear, and then once the sign is on the street, that it's already clear for them. It's just reconfirming their awareness. Lastly, prepare any information, when you do an intervention or make any change, and collect this data. Make sure you are collecting these results and sharing any successes with your community and decision makers. That's extremely important, to share all these results and show them that this works. It's not as scary as they think, and so it brings them on board more likely. So that's very briefly the points that we came up with. I see the sliders already on the screen. So take a couple of minutes. You can go back maybe to these slides at any time. Pick the top 3 that you think are most feasible in your city, or you think would work best for you to start with after this webinar, and share with us.
Or if you come up with any other ideas that weren't shared already, just punch them in. Just think about your daily work life and how you on Monday apply what you've learned in your work life. And it doesn't have to be something really huge and big. You don't need to change the world beginning on Monday, but just think what you could do with you learned through this webinar.
The password is, here it is, in the lower left corner of your screen. And I think Carl also pasted the link and the password in the chat.
I see here that many of you posted that revising the material is a thing that you could obviously do. I think that's really important because it was a dense seminar. You received lots of information, so it's always a good idea to just walk through the material once again, familiarize yourself. So I like this a lot, that you revise. And I also see from the Slido that you wrote that you would share. And sharing, I guess, with all the people that you work with, your colleagues, your teams, maybe also people from external organizations. You don't need to share like the whole set, but share whatever you found interesting. because obviously not everyone could take part in the webinar or could take part in all the sessions. So no need to share like the whole bundle. Of course, we would really love it if you would do so, but pick whatever you liked and just say, I heard something nice, something intriguing, something interesting. I just hand it over to you. So we just want to share the issue and the knowledge. So really happy if you could do that. What
I
else?
also see a lot of mention of data and pilot projects are a key piece in making the case. When you're sharing any of these ideas, this is a clear scientific proof of the impact and the potential success.
Yeah, and also, Diego, we like this digitalization of speeds in your zones or in your regions. That's nice because then you would have it ready also as a basis for enforcement. You would find lags also in your data, in your information systems. You could find roads where you maybe didn't put up enough information on actual speed limits. So this is also very nice. And to also making use, usar datos, making use of the data that you might probably already have, but not in a way that you need it. So excellent actions that you shared with us here. And also excellent in terms of that they can be implemented pretty soon. For me, it's sometimes like an issue that it's a big wall of stuff and I don't know where to start. So I always think it's important to pick out those quick wins and easy pieces from where you could start from, as I said, like tomorrow on Monday. Yeah, great. So we hope that you didn't just write down these actions, but you will put these actions actually into action. Yeah. Over to you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you, Siba.